question basically is an opportunity for us to give some examples of some voice and choice things. I know Lindsay and I have kind of alluded to a couple of them already, but we'll show you a few things. So I talked with you about boot camp, and the idea behind here was killing a few birds with a stone. I kind of wanted to see what their thoughts were initially and then give them a chance to kind of choose and stuff. So I won't elaborate too much more on that because you know about that one. The next one, I did a collaborative piece with our science teacher, Brittany Walker, and we decided to create a Shark Tank based on the series with the Shark Tank episodes where people are pitching ideas. So we felt like that was a great way to continue to work on communication skills and then also give them an opportunity to do something really good for their community and other people, and then continue to work on having choice in their learning and seeing what they do with it. So I think much like what Lindsay and I have already alluded to, you know, the voice and choice thing is a beautiful idea. The kids like this idea and they start making lots of choices and they have some really cool ideas, but that execution piece at the end is the piece that we continue to struggle with a little bit. But basically, the kids were given the charge to develop a design and a blueprint for something that would allow a person with a disability to complete a simple task. And so, in a nutshell, they had to develop and design the blueprint. They had to take a calendar and kind of figure out, what am I going to do with my team? They assigned one another roles and responsibilities where each person had different obligations each day and throughout the week. And then in the end, basically, they had to pitch it to a Shark Tank of people. So there were community members, we had some people from the building, staff members, and then their own peers got to see their pitches as well. And so it was a really neat opportunity for them to kind of expand on their own personal skills in science and also in math. And then also their language and writing skills as well. So in the end, again, you know, the same thing was lots of great ideas, but, you know, just not quite at the level or the quality that we were hoping for. The next piece that we're getting ready to dive into is a World War II and Holocaust prompts piece. Basically, we're wanting the kids to pursue something they're passionate about that relates to World War II and any topic associated with it. That they're interested in, that's kind of piqued their interest. So they could take a look at Hitler's rise to power, they could study Hitler's psychology, they could learn more about Hitler Youth, they could learn about Kristallnacht or Blitzkrieg, they could take a look at rescuers, Iwo Jima, they could look at Pearl Harbor, take a look at the economical piece and financing the war, ration cards, morale, during wartime, Rosie the Riveter and the role of women while men were away in battle, Japanese internment camps, the Soviet Union during World War II, the Navajo's role during World War II, Women's Army Corps, resistance operatives, you name it, anything they could think of. But then we're also encouraging them to expand beyond just the World War II and looking at some commonality pieces. So looking at modern day forms of genocide and kind of tracing that through history. And then also looking at tolerance and understanding what our role is when it comes to hate and how we can be catalysts for change in both positive and negative ways, which really is the big piece here. And so what we're really excited about is kind of opening this up to help them kind of see what's expected. I have given them some blurbs and some suggested questions because I know they're still learning this process, so I don't want to leave them completely on their own. Plus, I don't expect them to be knowledgeable about every single possible topic, but I feel like I want them to be informed. So there's still a lot of choice in this, but I've taken out some of the difficult pieces, and I want to make sure that they're choosing something that is going to be really compatible for who they are also. And so the coolest piece really is where the kids, this is their design template. So essentially what they're responsible for is, I've picked my topic. This is what I'm most interested in understanding better or learning more about, and it can be multiple questions, so that's kind of where it starts here. And then in addition, how are they going to pursue their answers to the questions? So thinking about resources that are available with people in the community, interviews, social media, you name it, anything they can think of as a resource. How will they document and reflect on their learning journey? That's a key piece to this, and so keeping a journal and making sure that they're writing and entering their learnings and findings and challenges and discoveries along the way at least 2 days a week. And then they have to decide what culminating product they'll do. So in the end, the expectation is there's some form of a deliverable. And so the kids might create a simulation. It could be a walking museum, like a live museum experience. They could create models. They could create murals and art pieces. They could design a website. They could create some type of campaign, you name it, anything they could possibly think of that would be some type of deliverable we would expect from them. And then they'll monitor their progress and get feedback on their progress throughout the way. And so that's going to be in the form of teachers, other staff members, their peers, family members, community members. They might even collaborate with someone online who is a specialist in the field. We have a couple kids who typically reach out to college professors and different people that represent organizations such as the Southern Poverty Law Center. And then they develop a timeline. So we'll have a drop dead deadline, but essentially it's up to them to say, I have a calendar. How am I going to fill this in with the absolutes? And then where do I fit my pieces in along the way so I can stay on track and be successful? And then, of course, looking at resources and organizing with our teachers and staff in the building and facilities to say, I'm going to need a projector or I'm going to need a laptop for my presentation. I need cords or whatever. They're responsible for every aspect of it. And then how is their project going to connect with one or more key standards or learning outcomes? And so that's the piece where they get to sit down and really kind of goal set with Lindsay and I. And figure out what are they really hoping to accomplish by the end and how do they know it will meet standards for 8th grade and above. And then how do they expect their communication skills, research skills, knowledge, and work ethic to be evaluated? We have lots of rubrics for those things, but what I'd really like to do is turn that piece over to the kids and say, you know, I think that you should be able to evaluate my communication skills in this way, using this checklist, or you should be able to tell that I have the skills I need because I'm going to do this. So look for this. And so leaving it up to the kids to kind of decide the evaluation process. So that's the piece I'm probably most excited about. So I could talk a lot about a lot of things, but these are the things that are kind of up and coming. And just kind of on a daily basis, for example, they get a template. I know a couple of the ladies in our class talked about giving the kids opportunities to practice skills, and they get to pick and choose what they want. This is an example of a chart for the kids to practice parts of speech, and so I basically gave them 12 different options, and then these little options here are things that they could fill in and choose to do on their own. And so it involves using technology, just doing good old note cards, creating pieces of art, matching games, dice games, going to create a Jeopardy game online, I mean, you name it. But it's really about continuing to give them voice and choice even on basic tasks when it comes to review.
Okay.